this should become a template. The UK-India Free Trade Agreement should become a template for India's deal with other important like-minded countries like US or EU or Japan. Already we have one free trade agreement with Australia. This is basically a harbinger of things to come and under extremely fast-moving conditions. I always maintain that the geopolitics eats economics for breakfast.
India-UK FTA is one of the largest trade deals for the UK post-Brexit. What kind of signal does this send to global investors about India's trade postures in respect of forthcoming deals with EU and USA?
In a way, it's what I call the first deal post what I call the gradual moving away from multilateralism that in a way Donald Trump kick-started. And so this should become a template. The UK-India Free Trade Agreement should become a template for India's deal with other important like-minded countries like US or EU or Japan. Already we have one free trade agreement with Australia. But this is coming post the new Labour government took over, and this deal actually was negotiated initially with the Conservative government, and then last year when the Labour government came into play, many people thought this may not be working out. But post Donald Trump taking over in late January, I think things have changed very suddenly, and the changes have accelerated. So for me, this is basically a harbinger of things to come and under extremely fast-moving conditions. I always maintain that the geopolitics eats economics for breakfast, and the geopolitical framework is changing extremely fast in the newer situation. Like tectonic plates of geopolitics are now suddenly moving, and the economic plates are also going to have many earthquakes. And in some ways, the like-minded people, it's in a way the new world order, which is where the China is trying to assert itself as the middle kingdom or the center of the earth, and the US and the EU trying to kind of keep their influence intact. And that's where I think India has come into play at the right place, right time, because 10, 15, 20 years back, nobody would have taken India that seriously. But today, with our heft in GDP, our great demand, our great skills, and also the demographics and the democracy, I think overall India under Prime Minister Modi has come to a greatly advantageous position, and that's where I think we need to now also call for some of the things which we were deprived of in multilateralism. We should be asking in the bilateral treaties which we are signing, and this is in a way the first of that lot, and hopefully we'll do even better going forward.
How will the data protection requirements under Annex 3 influence cross-border digital trade, especially in sectors like telecom, fintech or e-commerce?
Broadly, India is amongst the more tougher jurisdiction vis-a-vis other players in the market, because India is also leapfrogged, and most of the things they dream of actually are done by Indians in India. And that's where I think broadly our own new Data Protection Act is much more solid and much more stronger than what UK or UA would be able to bring in. And naturally, sovereignty of data as well as sovereignty in even other terms, because for UK or US, China is still a distant situation. For us, it's a continual threat, with Pakistan also acting as a proxy, and many other neighboring countries also in the pipeline. I think we are much more concerned about data protection and data sovereignty than many other countries which can pretend to be sort of worried about that.
Yeah, also if I talk about automobile sector, the duty slashed from 100% to 10%, of course, under TRQ. But how will it impact Indian auto costs?
In a way, I think it's up to, it's beyond a particular cost of the vehicle. This 10% duty has been put in, and rightfully, because India, the largest amount of vehicles in India are actually two-wheelers. India is the world leader in producing two-wheelers. And now it's becoming a very large market for four-wheelers also, but very low cost. At the same time, India is so large, almost 30 times larger than UK. And so the demand for even high cost cars is also very high, and that's where I think UK will benefit a little. But today there were in the delegation at Skechers, there were people from automobile industry, and they were very confident that they might be able to give good competition to UK vehicles. And so it remains to be seen how it works out. But it's not only for the cars. I think people have not taken into account into their calculations the buses and electric buses and many other vehicles which today multi-axle vehicles and things like that. So I think it's going to be an interesting play, and it will of course certainly bring up the standards in the Indian automobile sector even otherwise going forward.
UK has given access to India's government procurements. How will this impact India's MSMEs? Will they be able to compete UK companies?
Absolutely. I mean, Indian companies today are able to beat the best in the world in terms of the quality and delivery. And so I have no doubt that many of our large companies are now competing across the world, even in engineering and process and design and deliveries. And that's where even our SMEs are very competitive. I think the issue which I have seen over the last 30-40 years is that WTO and other multilateral agreements we signed were actually against India's interest, and India did not have that kind of say there. With this bilaterals, I think with and zero tariff, I think Indian companies will be doing exceedingly well going forward, not only in larger goods but also in agriculture, in leather, in textile, where India did not have a chance against Pakistan or Bangladesh or China exports or even Sri Lankan exports. Today, I think Indian companies are going to come up to speed, and of course NSE will do what it takes to raise funds for those companies in terms of equities and debt too.
The India-UK bilateral trade volume stood at around £43 billion in 2024. What incremental impact will the FTA have on the current trade volume, and during what fiscal year can we start noticing the impact?
No, broadly, I think $54 billion is the total sort of trade volume between the two countries, and the largest part of that is actually more than almost $32 billion. Out of that is services. And services, India is pretty much the capital of the world of services. And many Indians work in UK, and I think this bilateral FTA has also allowed Indians not to pay the social security taxes and allowed them to come in with easier visa regime, and also not even have offices for a very long period. So I think overall the regime is becoming more favorable to services, and of course the UK is expecting many more jobs to be created on services by Indian companies in UK. So that would actually add into the GDP of UK too. But even in merchandise sort of trade, in some ways UK is importing a lot from other countries, and probably some of our goods might substitute those goods which UK imports.
To what extent does the FTA allow Indian banks, insurance companies or fintech firms to expand in the UK market, or vice versa?
I think in some ways Indian companies bring tremendous amount of high tech in the financial sector, because India again is the most innovative country in the world in terms of the fintech today. And our UPI or our stock markets are envy of the world in terms of the way we have organized ourselves in a centrally sort of set up ways, and then the peripheries being responsible for all the innovations, while at the center like UPI or NSE hold the integrity of the systems and risk management centrally. And that's where I think we have been able to do 50% of all mobile payments in the world with UPI, and 50% of all trades in the world in stock markets at NSE. And that's where, broadly speaking, India brings a lot of high-tech part of the situation in a way that today Bank of New York, with no branch in India but $50 trillion of custody under management, has literally 40-50,000 people in Pune, or Fidelity has probably 50,000 people in Bangalore, and so on and so forth. So India brings a tremendous amount of skills, while as the UK brings the expertise of the structuring and also long-term fund management. I think it's going to be an interesting combination which can, if done well, can actually take on many of the innovations and expand the markets going forward.